Hello and welcome to this biology lesson on regulation of internal environment. To begin, let's have a role play. Now, in this role play, you will be playing the role of a medical detective, and your task is to identify any deviation from the norm on this medical lab test report presented here. Now, pay particular attention to the test that is being reported, the result, and the reference range. Now, take for example the glucose level. The result indicates 155 milligram and the range of normal shows 70 to 100 milligram. What that tells you is that the glucose level appears to be more than the normal. In this lesson, we will be discussing homeostasis, and at the end of this video lesson, you should be able to define homeostasis, list the major organs and substances involved in the process of homeostasis, explain the concept of negative feedback in the context of homeostasis, and develop a model or diagram illustrating the feedback loops involved in maintaining homeostasis for a specific physiological parameter. Now, defining homeostasis. Homeostasis is defined as the process by which a fairly constant internal environment is maintained in an organism. You would know that living organisms are always exposed to changing external environments and conditions. Now, the internal environment of an organism, which is made up majorly of body fluids such as the blood, the lymph, and the tissue, are required to be maintained within a steady condition despite changes in the external or internal environment. This is required because the efficient functions of body cells and healthy growth requires that the internal environment be kept within a normal range. Now, this internal environment and conditions include conditions like the temperature, the pH, the osmotic pressure, the concentration of dissolved substances, and mineral ions. So, what are the substances involved in homeostasis? The control systems involved in homeostasis are automatic. Now, it does not require any voluntary will. The body simply initiates this control system when there is a deviation from the norm or when there is a change in the environment or in the body condition. Now, there are two pathways to the body's response to these changes, and they are the nervous response and the hormonal response. The nervous response involves the nervous system and the network of nerves, while the hormonal response involves the endocrine system and the production of chemical messengers called hormones. Now, all control systems involved in homeostasis are made up of three main components. At the beginning of the system are the cells, which are the receptors. These are responsible for detecting the change and detecting the deviation from the norm. Then we have the coordination centers, including the brain, spinal cord, pancreas, liver, kidney, skin, and the ductless glands of the endocrine system. Now, these coordination centers are responsible for receiving the signals from the receptors and interpreting those signals and also initiating a response or an effect. And the third component are the effectors. These are the body organs or parts that are responsible for effecting the response from the coordination centers. And that is why this is about coordination and response. Now, the negative feedback is a mechanism that all homeostatic systems use. Now, what is the negative feedback? It can be described as this. When the level of something, for example, glucose concentration in the blood or core body temperature, gets too high or too low, when the level falls out of the normal range, our body sends signals and uses the negative feedback to bring that condition back to the normal level. And of course, that happens because the body is first able to detect the deviation from the normal and then interpret that deviation and come up with the right response that will in turn restore the normal within the body. So this is the negative feedback mechanism. Now the loop is a representation of the feedback mechanism, and here it is shown as the level of a particular body condition becoming too high. The receptors detect a stimulus, and that stimulus is passed to the coordination center. The coordination center receives and processes the information, then organizes a response. The response is passed on to the effectors, which carry out the response, and that response is to counteract the stimulus and restore normal level. So when the level started as being too high, the effect becomes that the level decreases and restores it back to the normal. And also, when the case is that the level is too low, the same system kicks in. The receptor detects the stimulus. The coordination center receives the stimulus and processes that information and then organizes a response, which is transferred to the effectors and carried out. That response is again to counteract the stimulus. In this case, the stimulus was that the level is too low, and the effect is to increase the level, restoring the normal condition. So let's look at control of blood glucose concentration, one major internal condition that the homeostatic response helps with. Now, in the first scenario, when someone eats a meal, their blood glucose levels start to rise because the food they ate contains sugars and carbohydrates. Now, to bring down the rising blood glucose level, the pancreas in their body releases a hormone called insulin. Now, insulin acts like a key that opens the cells of the body, allowing glucose to leave the blood and enter into the cells where they can be used for energy. As a result of insulin's action, the glucose level in the blood starts to decrease, bringing it back to a balanced and normal range. Now, in the second scenario, when someone has not eaten for a while or is fasting, the level of glucose in the blood may start to drop because there's no new intake of glucose, new supply of glucose from food. Now, to raise the falling blood glucose level, another hormone called glucagon is released by the pancreas. Glucagon sends a signal to the liver, which actually holds a store of a form of glucose called glycogen. Glycogen is a storage form of glucose in the body of animals. Now, the glucagon, which is the hormone released by the pancreas, initiates an effect from the liver, which is to release the glycogen and break down the glycogen and then release the glucose molecule back into the blood. As a result of this action of the hormone glucagon, the blood glucose level starts to increase, helping to maintain a steady and healthy blood glucose level. So you notice that the release of insulin and glucagon is a process that helps the body maintain a balance of blood glucose level throughout the day, ensuring that the cells always have the glucose required to produce the energy that the body needs. So here is an activity, a sample Igcse question. It says, which row of the following table correctly describes what happens in the body after a person consumes a can of sugary drink? Now, in the table, you have a column for role of the pancreas, the role of the liver, and the effect. So which of these four roles, role A, role B, role C, role D, correctly describe what happens in the body of a person after consuming a can of sugary drink? Okay, So let's hear what your answer is. Drop your answer in the comment space, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up, a like, and share this video with someone that you know will find this helpful. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.